Hi, Wes Maple. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do some artworks inspired by Yayoi Kusama. Like I said in the instructions, you're welcome to do multiples of an object you can think of from memory, or you're welcome to grab an object that you have. So either a fruit, vegetable, or any object that you want to draw multiples of. I have some extra apples, and I'm going to grab an apple. I'm going to use it as a guide so I can kind of see what I want to sketch. So I'm noticing the shape of an apple. There's a little indent and a stem over there. I'm going to translate that onto paper multiple times. So I'm going to start off by kind of drawing my objects fairly large. I do want to do multiples of them, but I don't want to make them so small it's going to be hard to put the dots on them. So I'm going to start off with my apple fairly large up here. So I'm kind of roughly sketching it in. I think my little bump comes in here, and then the stem is going to come in as it dips in. Once I have one sketched in, I'm going to put a few more just so I have some depth to the picture. So I'm going to kind of think of if they're overlapping, if there's a smaller one someplace over here that's going to dip in. I'll add that piece in. I'll add in maybe an even larger one that kind of sits over here. What I'm trying to do is just kind of use up majority of my paper. I don't want to make it too small for the object. And I'll have a little bit of fun on this. I can add in, let's say, a leaf that's kind of sticking out from my apple. Since I have an overlap here, I will erase that piece. And then I just want to give it a very simple background. So if these apples are standing on a table, I'm just going to imagine that this is where my table goes in. So I'm going to draw the line on the table. And my next step is color. So Yayoi Kusama likes to use a lot of colors and a lot of bright colors. So have some fun with this. I am going to be using some oil pastels in this. I know I started off with a green apple. I can do one of the apples green. I can do them different colors, so have a little bit of fun. I'm going to start off with, why not? We'll have a blue apple. I'm using oil pastels. I'm just going to color my apple fairly quickly. I won't push super hard because I don't want to saturate the paper to the point where it will not take my dots. Now, remember the other part I'm using with oil pastels is I have the ability to blend things in. So I can go a little bit quicker with the oil pastels. I'm also going to do the stem in the same blue oil pastel. So I also have my ability to kind of either use my finger to blend things in, or use anything else that you want. If it's not blending in all the way with oil pastels, you're welcome to add some more, but have a little bit of fun. So I have one blue apple here. Let's have a pink one. Why not? So I'm going to use some colors that kind of are contrasting to each other. That will help my apples stand out from each other. And then why not have a green apple? Let's make it true to color. So my last apple is going to be the green apple. Like I said, you're welcome to use any materials that you want. You're welcome to make the objects any color you want. I would just vary the colors, especially since you're doing multiples of these. vary the color a little bit. That way they don't blend in. So I'm going to smooth out this, my green apple. We'll add a little bit of depth to this. I'm going to make it a little bit darker. Oh, while I have the green up, why not finish up the leaf? And now I'm going to have some fun with the dots. So I chose black for my dots just because I know it's darker than all of these colors and it's going to stand out. What I'm also noticing about my object is a sphere, so it's kind of round. And if you notice fairly close, I do want to, as I add in the dots, I do want to follow all of that in there. So if I start from my green object, if I start from the middle, I might make my first row of dots kind of follow along the center. And then as I work from the outside, I'm just going to start curving. And I'll show you on one side. Kind of starting from the same side, but I'm making my dots curve. I don't want sixes, I do want actual dots. So they're kind of curving more and more, and then coming back toward the bottom. And just keep going until you fill up your object. So imagine if the dots were coming here, one line would come in this way and then would go out further and curve further and curve further. So imagine just putting the dots on a line like that. Please don't draw the actual line, but think of the line as an imaginary line where the dots would be. Once you have filled in all of the objects with the dots, this is the part where you can think about your background. So for the background, what you want to do is create some contrast to it. So by contrast, I mean a big change between the background and the object. Same as we have a big change between the apples here. I can fill out, so let's say since these are sitting on a table, my tablecloth might be made up of rows of dots. And I would come in and fill up big dots going all the way through your tablecloth. You can do any pattern or anything that will make it stand out. The background, say the wall, think of a geometric pattern that will be set off by the dots. So on some of the examples that you guys saw, they have just lines that kind of run through. They kind of connect it just enough to break up the background. You can do fairly straight lines, just make sure they go behind the object. But if you can see, the lines are going to create contrast with the dots. Have some fun. Get creative in the background. Have some fun embellishing the objects with dots. And I can't wait to see what your project looks like when it's finished.